I thought I was going to surprise my parents for Easter. That morning the sky was clear. The air was cool, and I was driving with flowers in the passenger seat and a box of chocolates balanced carefully on the floor. It felt good, like I was doing something right. Easter had always been a family thing, even when we didn't have much money, even when my sister Cassandra was causing drama every other week. My parents made Easter special. Plastic eggs in the yard, a ham in the oven, my mom humming church hymns while setting the table. That's how it always was. And this year, I wanted to give something back. I imagined their faces when I showed up unannounced, holding tulips and chocolate. My mom would probably tear up. My dad would shake his head and say, "You didn't have to do all that." And then we'd sit down together like old times. That's what I pictured. But what I walked into was nothing like that. When I pulled up to the house, something felt off immediately. The curtains I remembered, the floral ones my mom had kept for years, were gone. The front yard looked different. No Easter decorations, no little plastic eggs hidden in the grass, not even a wreath on the door. I told myself maybe they'd toned it down this year. Maybe they were tired. Still, the silence hit me. On Easter Sunday, my parents' house had always been alive with noise, pots clattering, my dad muttering about football, my mom laughing too loudly. This time, nothing, just quiet. I knocked, waited, knocked again, no answer. For a second I wondered if I'd gotten the wrong day. But Easter doesn't sneak up on you, not when it's been a family tradition your whole life. I stood there on the porch, holding the flowers, trying not to let panic rise in my chest. Then I remembered, I still had my old house key. I hadn't used it in years, but my parents never asked for it back. So I slid the key in, turned the lock, and stepped inside. That's when my stomach dropped. The living room wasn't ours anymore. The sofa was gone, replaced with something modern, gray, and sterile. The old bookshelf, the one my dad built by hand, was missing. The family photos, birthdays, graduations, holidays were stripped from the walls. The house felt cold, like a stranger lived there. For a moment, I actually thought I had the wrong address. I froze by the door, clutching the flowers so tightly the stems bent. My heart pounded. Then I heard it. Her voice, Cassandra. She laughed from somewhere down the hall, loud and careless, the same way she always had when she was hiding something. And then another voice, a man's. Nathan, her boyfriend. "Wait," he said. "You didn't tell me your sister was coming." Cassandra's voice floated back, sharp and amused. "What? The golden goose? She'll be gone by morning." The golden goose, that's what she called me. The one who had it together. The one with a job, with stability. The one my parents leaned on when Cassandra fell apart. I stood there, not sure what to do, my pulse thundering in my ears. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Proof, maybe, that this was still my parents' home. That's when I noticed the faint glow coming from the side window, the garage. I walked slowly, quietly, my shoes brushing the carpet that no longer felt familiar. At the side door, I took a breath, then lifted the handle and pushed it open. The garage light flickered, and there, in the middle of the concrete floor, sat my parents. My dad hunched on a stool, bent over an old cabinet hinge like it was the most important task in the world. My mom sat bundled in a folding chair, wearing her winter coat indoors. She looked up first. Her eyes widened. "Oh," she whispered, like she didn't quite believe it. "Honey." I froze in the doorway. "Mom?" My voice cracked. "What is this?" She lowered her eyes, fidgeting with her sleeves. "It's temporary." My dad didn't even look up. "Your mom's cold." I told her to wear gloves. I stepped closer, the flowers shaking in my hands. "Why are you out here? What happened?" They exchanged a look, a long, heavy look. Then my mom sighed. "It's nothing. Cassandra and Nathan just needed some space." "In the house?" I asked, my voice sharper now. "They're fixing it up," she whispered. "Just for a while." I stared at her, at the folding chair, at the cabinet hinge, my dad was pretending to fix. My heart broke and hardened all at once, and then quietly, I said, "Pack a bag, I'll be back in an hour." My mom blinked. "What? You heard me." My dad finally set down his screwdriver. "Where are we going? You're not staying in this garage another night." 10 minutes later, I was back in my car, my parents in the seats beside me. The flowers and chocolates I had brought still sat awkwardly in the back, useless symbols of the Easter morning I had imagined but would never get. My mom kept her coat wrapped tightly around her shoulders. Even though the car heater was blasting, she stared out the window, silent, like a passenger in her own life. My dad sat stiff, his hands on his knees, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. For a while, none of us spoke. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the faint rattle of tools in the back of my dad's pockets. He had brought them from the garage, almost like he couldn't leave without them. Finally, my mom whispered, "We didn't want you to see this." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Then what? You wanted me to believe everything was fine, while you froze in the garage." Her eyes filled with tears. "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is," I said, my voice low but sharp. "It is that simple. You don't deserve this." My dad let out a heavy sigh. "Your mother's right though. We didn't want you caught up in the mess. You've got your own life." "My life?" I turned to look at him at the red light. "You are my life. You raised me. You gave me everything you could. And she..." I stopped myself, but the word hung heavy in the air. "Cassandra." When we pulled into the hotel parking lot, the nicest place in town, with polished glass doors and golden lights spilling from the lobby, I saw my mom's lips part slightly in surprise. She shook her head. "This is too much." "No." I cut her off. "It's the bare minimum. You've spent your lives giving everything to us. Let me do this." Inside, the lobby smelled of fresh lilies and lemon polish. The carpet muffled our footsteps, and the receptionist smiled politely, as if nothing in the world was wrong. I set the flowers on the counter, slid my card across, and said firmly, "1 room, 2 beds, full week." My dad muttered behind me, "We can't afford this." "I can," I said. 5 minutes later, they were tucked into crisp white sheets, the heat turned up, the TV remote in my dad's hand, like a strange new toy. My mom leaned back against the pillows, her face softening for the first time all day. She touched the tulips I had placed in a vase by the window. "This doesn't feel real," she whispered. "It is real," I told her, "and it's only the beginning." That night I sat alone in my own hotel room, laptop open, fingers hovering over the keyboard. My emotions shifted like tides. Rage, sorrow, determination, all fighting for control. I'm a contracts manager by trade. My work is rules, signatures, fine print. Cassandra might have charm. She might know how to twist people's feelings, but I know how to read the lines that can't be bent. So I started pulling strings. My parents had always been careful about keeping records, though they didn't fully understand them. I remembered they once mentioned an old thumb drive where they kept digital copies, and a locked cabinet in the garage with the rest. The next morning I returned with my mom to the house. We walked quietly, like intruders in a place that should have been ours. Cassandra's car wasn't there. Nathan's either. The house smelled faintly of new paint, as if they had been trying to scrub away every trace of my parents. In the garage, my mom's hands trembled as she reached into the cabinet with the key. She pulled out folder after folder, tax forms, insurance documents, and finally the deed. Her eyes widened as she looked at the names. Just hers and my dad's, not Cassandra's, not Nathan's. I put a hand on hers. "It's okay. Just trust me." For a long time she stood there, staring at the paper, her lips pressed together. I knew what she was thinking, that this wasn't the family she had imagined, that her daughter had turned her house into a battlefield. But me, I felt clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. Because that paper meant Cassandra was not an owner. She was not a tenant. Legally, she was nothing more than a guest. and guests can be removed. That night, I drafted documents, combed through local ordinances, and read case after case. My anger found purpose. I remembered Easter mornings as a kid, how Cassandra used to snatch eggs from me and laugh when I cried, how my mom would scold her gently but never truly stop her. Cassandra always took more than her share, but this time, she had gone too far. I wasn't a kid anymore, and this time, I had the power to stop her. I knew Cassandra. I knew her moods, her tricks, the way she could smile while slicing someone open with her words. She was 2 years older than me, and all my life she had been the storm while I tried to be the anchor. As kids, she'd steal my Easter candy, then grin as mom scolded me for whining. As a teenager, she'd skip curfew, then blame me for not covering her tracks. She could charm teachers, friends, boyfriends, anyone into believing her side of the story, everyone but me. So if I was going to beat Cassandra, I couldn't just shout or accuse. She'd twist it, spin it, cry if she had to. No, I needed proof, something undeniable. That's why I texted her, "Hey, wanna grab lunch tomorrow? Just us?" Her reply came fast. "Wait, really? You're not mad?" I smiled bitterly at the screen. "No, I've been thinking. We should talk." The next day, I waited at a corner cafe downtown, the kind of place with tiny tables and too much chatter. I sat by the window, watching people pass, my heart steady but heavy. When Cassandra arrived, she was exactly as I pictured, dramatic. A beige trench coat, oversized sunglasses she didn't need, lipstick so red, it almost bled against her skin. She swept in like the star of her own show. "Sis," she said, kissing the air beside my cheek. "I'm so glad you reached out." I forced a smile. "Yeah, it's been a while." We sat. She ordered a latte with oat milk, extra foam. I ordered black coffee. While we waited, she leaned across the table, lowering her voice. "Look, I know it's been tense," she began, tilting her head like she was the reasonable one, "but I think we're finally on the same page." I let her talk. That was always the trick with Cassandra. Let her believe she was winning. She rambled about renovations, about how hard it was to be the only one who steps up, about Nathan's grand plans for the house. I nodded occasionally, my face calm, though inside I felt every word scraping against my ribs. Finally, when her plate of salad was half eaten, I leaned in. "You know, maybe you're right. Maybe mom and dad do need help, some structure." Her eyes lit up. She almost clapped her hands like a child who had just gotten her way. "Exactly. That's what I've been trying to say. You finally get it." I sipped my coffee slowly, then said, "I even talked to a couple of realtors. If we sell the house, we could put the money toward their long-term care, maybe even help you and Nathan get your own place." Her lips curled into a satisfied smile. "I knew you'd come around. You've always been so practical." I nodded, sliding my phone from my pocket under the table. I had been recording the entire conversation, every word, and then I said, calmly, "Also, I recorded this whole conversation." The look on her face was priceless. Her eyes widened, her smile froze, and the mask slipped all at once. For a second, she was just Cassandra, cornered, exposed. "You, what?" she stammered. I stood, leaving a 20 on the table. "Enjoy lunch. It's on me." And without another word, I walked out into the bright afternoon, the sun sharp on my skin, my heart pounding with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Victory. The next 3 days were a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and legal steps. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was methodical, precise. When the documents were ready, I drove back to the house with a police escort. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't waver. This wasn't a family argument anymore. This was law. Nathan opened the door, wearing my dad's robe, holding a mug like he was the king of the castle. He smirked, smug. "You lost, sweetheart." I lifted the papers in my hand. "Nope, but you're about to be." Behind him, Cassandra appeared. Her lipstick was smudged, her smile gone the second she saw the notice. "You can't be serious," she hissed. "Oh, I'm very serious. You're not on the deed," I continued. my voice sharp. "You're not on the lease, you're a guest, and guests don't get to control." Nathan laughed. "You can't remove family." That's when the officer stepped forward. His voice was calm, official, but heavy with authority. "Actually, you've been served. I recommend you read the paperwork." For the first time, Cassandra had no comeback, no laugh, no excuse, just silence. That afternoon, when the shouting had quieted, when Cassandra and Nathan had finally realized there was no loophole, no trick, no smile that could undo the papers in my hand, the house felt different. For weeks it had been their playground, but now, with the police standing in the hallway, it was mine again. Or rather, it was my parents'. Cassandra stormed out first, slamming the door so hard the frames rattled. Nathan followed, muttering under his breath, dragging a duffel bag that wasn't even his. I stood in the entryway, the deed folder pressed against my chest. My parents lingered behind me, hesitant, almost afraid to believe it was over. My dad finally stepped forward. He placed a hand on my shoulder. In his other hand, he held a folder. "Here," he said, his voice low, steady. He opened it. Inside was the deed to the house. "If anything ever happens to us," he continued, "this is yours. You were the one who came back. You were the one who remembered what home is supposed to be." I swallowed hard. Words felt useless, so I just hugged him. For a long time, we stood there, father and child, protector and protected, roles reversed in ways I never imagined. My mom joined, her arms wrapping around us both. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt like I belonged, like we were safe. That evening, back in the kitchen, we unpacked what little Cassandra had left untouched. My mom placed tulips, the same flowers I had brought days earlier, in a vase on the table. Their petals glowed in the warm light, delicate but resilient. We ate takeout, nothing fancy, but the laughter returned, cautious at first, then louder, freer. My dad told a story about the time he tried to build a treehouse for us, and ended up with nothing but a crooked ladder. My mom teased him, her cheeks pink from smiling too much. It wasn't Easter dinner with ham and pie, but it was ours, and in that moment, I realized something. Home isn't the walls or the furniture. It's not the pictures or the paint. Home is the people who stay, who endure, who fight for each other when it matters most. As for Cassandra, she called once, twice, left messages about how we had turned our backs, how we had stolen her future. Each word dripped with bitterness, but none of it surprised me. Last I heard, she was bouncing from couch to couch, staying with friends who would still take her in. For the first time in her life, she had to face consequences that couldn't be charmed away. I didn't rejoice in it. She was still my sister. Part of me mourned what we had lost, what she had chosen to become, but I knew this much. I wasn't going to let her destroy the people who had given me everything. That Easter didn't end the way I thought it would. There was no family feast, no easy joy. Instead, it ended with tears, paperwork, police visits, and a silence I had never imagined for us. But when I looked at my parents, sitting safe and warm in their rightful home, tulips bright on the table, laughter slowly finding its way back into the walls, I knew we had something even stronger. We had taken back what mattered, and no one, not even Cassandra, could take that away again.